is the first one, the father of young Sylvius. That's Aeneas, the star of Virgil's poet. So Aeneas made this journey to the underworld in the Aeneid. And who else? Paul. Yeah, who's Paul? Don't say my nephew. He's very cute. That's not the Paul he's talking about. Who's Paul? Paul, St. Paul. Who's St. Paul? Nope, never Pope. It's Paul. What's his claim to fame? Maybe we should have read Acts of the Apostles. So St. Paul, right after Christ's death, resurrection, and ascension, the early Christians are preaching and spreading, and this man Saul is a Jew who is working hard to suppress Christianity in its very early stages, making sure that a lot of them get put to death, thrown in jail, things like that. And he has this conversion experience where Christ speaks to him while he is traveling. He falls off of his donkey or horse, and he has this vision of Christ, and he converts and is baptized. He later goes on to write most of the New Testament, are various letters that Paul sent to people, Corinthians, Romans, all those letters to the such and such. Most of them were written by St. Paul. And then he and St. Peter, first Pope, ended up going to Rome and being executed there. And so why does St. Paul mention as the other guy that Dante's comparing himself to, who journeyed to the afterlife? This is where the notes come in handy. So notice Paul is mentioned in lines 28 to 30. So let's see if there are any notes about that. Okay, let's see. Oh, look, 28 to 30 on page 85. The chosen vessel Paul. In his second epistle to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul alludes to his mystical elevation to the third heaven and to the arcane messages pronounced there. The medieval Visio Sancti Pauli relates his journey through the realms of the dead. Okay, there's this vision that Paul had that he mentions in one of his letters. St. Paul, so he's sometimes called the apostle to the Gentiles, meaning the non-Jews. And he and Peter were both executed where? Can I say? Rome. And they were buried, St. Peter was buried underneath where St. Peter's Basilica is now. So what's the other connection here between Aeneas and St. Paul? Both that they made this journey to the underworld, but also, what's the other connection? We just mentioned it. Why is Aeneas famous? What's his claim to fame? He flees Troy when it's being destroyed after the war, and he goes on to do what? You should know this about Aeneas. So he's from Troy, he's a Trojan prince. He leaves home when Troy's destroyed, sails around the Mediterranean for a while, and eventually ends up where?
Rome.
Rome. Yes, in Italy, and he founds the city of Rome. Which then ends up becoming the center of Christianity. That's the connection here between them. All right, but Dante's unsure about this. What makes me worthy? And he says he's thinking about stopping this journey that he only just decided to make. Continue line 43. If I had truly understood your words, that shade of magnanimity replied, that's Virgil, your soul is burdened with that cowardice which often weighs so heavily on a man, it turns him from a noble enterprise like a frightened beast that shies at its own shadow. To free you from this fear, let me explain the reason I came here, the words I heard that first time I felt pity for your soul. I was among those dead who are suspended when a lady summoned me. She was so blessed and beautiful, I implored her to command me. With eyes of light more bright than any star, in low, soft tones, she started to address me in her own language, with an angel's voice. O noble soul, courteous Mantuan, whose fame the world continues to preserve and will preserve as long as world there is, my friend, who is no friend of fortune's, strays on a desert slope. So many obstacles have crossed his path, his fright has turned him back. I fear he may have gone so far astray from what report has come to me in heaven that I may have started to his aid too late. Now go, and with your elegance of speech, with whatever may be needed for his freedom, give him your help, and thereby bring me solace. I am Beatrice, who urges you to go. I come from the place I am longing to return to. Love moved me, as it moves me now to speak. When I return to stand before my Lord, often I shall sing your praises to him. And then she spoke no more. The verse says to Dante, you're afraid, because this is a large task. But let me tell you why I'm here. So, why did Virgil come to Dante? Why does Virgil go to Dante?
What part of hell is he at?
We're going to see. So right now, they haven't yet entered hell, but Virgil came from a certain part of hell that we're going to see in a couple of cantos. But why did he go to Dante? Why does he know to make this journey? Who did? Yes, a lady, beautiful lady, came to Virgil and asked him, who is that? I should write this more. Yes. Beatrice came to him. The Beatrice. Virgil says, Beatrice came to me and told me, go, and with your elegance of speech, with whatever may be needed for his freedom, give him your help, and thereby bring me solace. Beatrice is concerned about Dante. She says, I'm worried that I may have started to his aid too late. I'm worried it might be too late to help him. But go, Virgil, help him. Line 75. Virgil's still telling what happened. So he replies to Beatrice. And I began, O Lady of Grace, through whom alone mankind may go beyond all worldly things contained within the sphere that makes the smallest round. Your plea fills me with happy eagerness. To have obeyed already would seem late. You needed only to express your wish. But tell me, how you dared to make this journey all the way down to this point of spacelessness, away from your spacious home that calls you back. Because your question searches for deep meaning, I shall explain in simple words, she said, just why I have no fear of coming here. A man must stand in fear of just those things that truly have the power to do us harm, of nothing else, for nothing else is fearsome. God gave me such a nature through his grace, the torments you must bear cannot affect me, nor are the fires of hell a threat to me. A gracious lady sits in heaven grieving for what happened to the one I send you to, and her compassion breaks heaven's stern decree. She called Lucia, and making her request, she said, your faithful one is now in need of you, and to you I now commend his soul. Lucia, the enemy of cruelty, hastened to make her way to where I was, sitting by the side of ancient Rachel, and said to me, Beatrice, God's true praise, will you not help the one whose love was such it made him leave the vulgar crowd for you? Do you not hear the pity of his weeping? Do you not see what death it is that threatens him along that river the sea shall never conquer? There never was a worldly person living more anxious to promote his selfish gains than I was, at the sound of words like these, to leave my holy seat and come down here and place my trust in you, in your noble speech that honors you and all those who have heard it. When she had finished reasoning, she turned her shining eyes away, and there were tears. How eager then I was to come to you. And I have come to you just as she wished, and I have freed you from the beast that stood blocking the quick way up the mountain of bliss. So, who started this whole chain of things? Well, who went to Beatrice? Somebody went to Beatrice to tell Beatrice to help out Dante. And trace it back. This is here on page 82. We have 2 steps here.
This here.
Yes. St. Lucy, Lucia, came to Beatrice. She said, Beatrice, will you not help the one whose love was such it made him leave the vulgar crowd for you? She says, Beatrice, remember how much Dante loved you. He didn't love things that were less good than you. Won't you help him out? And who had told St. Lucia to help him out? What does she say here? She doesn't name this person. She describes her here in lines 94 to 96. A gracious lady sits in heaven grieving for what happened to the one I send you to, and her compassion breaks heaven's stern decree. Who is that? Who is this gracious lady in heaven whose compassion breaks heaven's stern decree? I'm going almost all the way to the top. Yes. Yeah, Mary. Sometimes called the Mother of Mercy. She asks St. Lucia, who talks to Beatrice, who sends Virgil to Dante. But Virgil here is going to lead Dante on this first step. Virgil continues speaking the whole chain of all-stars at his back. I mean, Virgil is at the bottom of this ladder, this chain. Virgil, the most important Roman author, Dante's role model, is at the bottom of this. Beatrice, his muse, his love at a distance, comes down from heaven to send Virgil to him. But even she was sent by someone above her, St. Lucy, who in turn was sent by Our Lady, who's at the top of all the saints. And so Virgil says to him, so what is wrong? Why? Why do you delay? Why are you such a coward in your heart? Why aren't you bold and free of all your fear? When three such gracious ladies who are blessed watch out for you up there in heaven's court. And my words too bring promise of such good. As little flowers from the frosty night are closed and limp, and when the sun shines down on them, they rise to open on their stem, my wilted strength began to bloom within me, and such warm courage flowed into my heart that I spoke like a man set free of fear. O she compassionate who moved to help me, and you, all kindness and obeying quick those words of truth she brought with her for you. You and the words you spoke have moved my heart with such desire to continue onward that now I have returned to my first purpose. Let us start, for both our wills joined now are one. You are my guide, you are my Lord and teacher. These were my words to him. When he moved, I entered on that deep and rugged road. How does Dante respond when Virgil chastises him? He says, why are you being a coward? You've got these three ladies up there looking out for you. What is Dante? What happens to Dante? We're on page 83. Lines 127 to 132. Anyone? No, it's not nap time yet.
Is it okay?
Yes, he agrees. He says, and not just that he agrees, but even more so, he's eager to go. And what does he compare this to? This change within him. What does it compare it to in lines 127 to 132? Like a flower. It's really cold. And it's not that cold. He says frosty night here. It's a bit of an exaggeration. If it's spring or summer, and there are flowers blooming. What are flowers there for? What do they do? Besides look beautiful. Food with the what?
With the bees.
Right. They're there to attract insects. The plants grow them to attract insects who will spread their pollen around so that they can make seeds. But at nighttime, the insects aren't out. And so at nighttime, the flowers, and then as it gets warm and the sun comes up, they open up again. And Dante says that's what this was like. My wilted, and when the sun shines down on them, they rise to open on their bloom within me. And such warm courage flowed into my heart that I spoke like a man set free of fear. And finally, Dante, notice this is the first step here. Before he even gets into hell, he has to decide to go on this journey. The first obstacle is an internal one. He says, yeah, let's go. And then he starts to doubt it. He says, maybe book 1 questions. Tomorrow we'll go over those. We'll continue with Canto 3 tomorrow. Hopefully you found some material to write a response paper about. Certain